Hey guys, it's time for Sammy's Reviews, and in today's video, I know I'm a couple months late, but today I want to discuss my top 10 movies of 2020. And this has been a very bumpy year for movies and the movie industry in general. COVID-19 has hit the movie industry in a really bad way, closing down cinemas, delaying of movie productions, actors being diagnosed with coronavirus, and all these misfortunes has had a very negative effect. But the industry has made drastic sacrifices and changes to maintain its ability to produce and to create and to thrive. With the shutting down of cinemas, the streaming services has arisen, and the streaming services are the thing. It's the only way to watch a movie. So this is how the industry has adapted to the misfortune. Streaming services right now are releasing some of the most important movies of the year, some of the most important TV shows of the year. We had The Five Bloods, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, The Irishman, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Mank, Pieces of a Woman, and so much more things. So let's not keep rambling and let's get to the point. Today I'm here to tell you my honorable mentions before getting into my top 10 movies of the year. And these honorable mentions are movies that are still worth you watching them, and it's still worth me mentioning them. We have Limbo, which is an excellent movie that I saw during the Cairo International Film Festival. We have the amazing documentary Feels Good Man, which has been a very unique experience. And the other three movies that I'm gonna be mentioning in the honorable mentions are kind of musical / music films, if that makes sense. We have American Utopia, amazing, it's amazing. We also have Hamilton, which is, I've been obsessed with Hamilton ever since 2015, and just seeing it on the screen and seeing the original cast playing it, it has been a dream. And finally we have a movie from my favorite band ever after Radiohead, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, with Chunky Charbonneau. Okay, we got the honorable mentions out of the way. Let's focus on our top 10 movies of the year. We have Mawgli, which is a movie that I've already talked about in my Cairo International Film Festival review. So if you want more insight on that, please check out the video. I'm going to be linking it down below. But it's basically a movie that's following a Pakistani rapper who lives in London, as he's a struggling artist that goes back to his hometown and faces a chronic disease. It's directed by Bassem Tariq, and it's produced, written and performed by Riz Ahmed. Riz Ahmed already made another movie this year, The Sound of Metal, that has been getting a lot of exposure, and it's in a lot of people's favorite movie list. However, this movie is so much better. Mawgli is so much better, and I really encourage you to watch it because it got swept under the rug really quickly with the rise of Sound of Metal, which in my opinion hasn't been the greatest. It's a very mediocre movie, and mainly because there's a lot of similarities between both movies. What really made Mawgli stands out is the amazing usage of metaphors, the portrayal of Riz Ahmed to a character that's facing cultural shock and reverse cultural shock, and of course the very unique soundtrack. Next we have I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which is another movie that I dedicated 2 entire videos about. It's directed by Charlie Kaufman, and it stars Jesse Plemons and Jesse Buckley, Toni Collette and David Thewlis, and I'm going to be linking the video down below. It follows a road trip in which a girlfriend is meeting the boyfriend's parents for the very first time while she's thinking of breaking up with him. It's my favorite movie of the year. It's unlike anything I've seen this year. Best cinematography of the year, which is the same cinematographer that made Cold War, which is a movie that really did not vibe with me, but it's very well shot and the cinematography is just amazing. It's beautiful. Also, the performances were outstanding and very theatrical. I enjoyed every conversation in the movie, and it's a very conversational movie, especially the conversation about women under the influence, and it has an amazing ending scene and a reference to A Beautiful Mind, the movie. Next we have a Greek movie, Apples. It's directed by Christos Neko, and it's his debut. It follows a character that has amnesia resulting from a new pandemic and a new widespread of amnesia that makes him lose tracks of his personality and his identity. So like all victims, he's enrolled in a government program in which they assign him a new identity. Right off the bat, Apples feels like the very beginning movies of Yorgos Lanthimos, in the way there is raw acting and dark comedy and tasteless screenplay, and This is no surprise because actually the director has been directing a second unit with Yorgos Lanthimos in his older movies. That doesn't mean he's imitating him, by no means. That's not what I'm saying. This movie is just influenced by Yorgos Lanthimos, and it's amazing how you can see the mixture between the influence of Lanthimos on this movie and the individual creative input of Nico. The world in this movie, the world is so rich and there's so much to explore, and the way the director lets you explore it in the way you want. He's not enforcing any sort of information upon you. The program that the government created is so well thought of and so smart. It's an excellent debut, and I'm so excited for other movies by the same director. Number 4 has been Pieces of a Woman. It's directed by Cornel Mandaroxo and stars Shia LaBeouf and Vanessa Kirby. The movie is basically discussing the repercussions of a home birth that happened in a family. This movie is divided into 2 very distinctive parts. Number 1 is the action and number 2 is the reaction. The home birth and the repercussions, and each part excels in some certain points. First part has the most complicated long shot I've seen in a very long time. It excels in the cinematography, in the acting, in the blocking, in the lighting, in the sound design. The second part of the movie is a completely different movie. It excels in the acting, in the writing, in the characterization, and in the visual storytelling. The movie reminded me of Wave, the 2019 movie, because it's actually divided into 2 distinctive parts as well, and it had to do with family drama. Pieces of a Woman, hands down, has the best scene of the entire year, which is the long shot I've talked about earlier. This long shot should be considered a benchmark and a standard for long shots, and it should be held like the long shot of Children of Men and Roma and The Secrets in Their Eyes. This scene alone is worth the price of admission, and the performances are just the icing on the cake. Excellent performances. Next off we have Minari, which has almost taken the first place of my favorite movie of the year because it left me in awe after I finished watching it. There's so much to discuss and so much to talk about and so many things you want to say after finishing it, especially the characters. Each character is so distinctive and so well drawn, so well described, and each one has their own actions that you want to analyze and you want to get behind why they did it. In a way, it reminded me of Shoplifters because each character was so distinctive and you want to understand them and you want to understand the reasons behind their actions. Each character is so rich that each one can have a movie of their own. It follows a Korean family that has lived in America for some time. They made some money by working small jobs and got to save a little bit to achieve their dream of buying a house. But the father, instead of buying a house, he bought a piece of land as the first step to achieve the American dream. He had beautiful visuals, an amazing soundtrack, mesmerizing score. It's such a strong experience that I think everybody should watch. Next up, let's talk about The Disciple. It's directed by Chaitanya Tamhani. It's an Indian movie about a guy whose dream is to become a master in the art of classical Indian music. This movie is slow but very rewarding. It's a character study about a very eccentric character. The main character is so dedicated to his craft that he follows a code that's a series of lectures that are recorded by a master musician which he idolizes. He listens to the lecture every single day while cruising his bike at night. The movie spends some time to explain to you what sort of music he wants to sing and why this goal is important for him. I love it when a movie assumes that you don't know some sort of culture, so he takes your hands and helps you to understand his characters and understand where he comes from. But in these lectures there are a lot of questionable concepts. It encourages you to be alone and to eliminate all social interactions. But what makes this movie so special is that when people listen to him, they are not impressed. He's not a prodigy or anything, and they don't see the progress that he claims he has gone through. However, he keeps acting that he's a prodigy, and if he studies enough and if he practices enough, he's gonna reach the high level. The movie is excellently discussing the idea and the concept of how the artist faces the dilemma of understanding that he is only a perceiver and he cannot create. Maybe you're just not gifted enough, you're not talented enough to create. And it explores this theme to the maximum capacity. Next off, let's talk about The Trial of Chicago 7 by Aaron Sorkin. It's a courtroom drama that happens inside a courtroom after a protest that has gone wrong, and it's based on a true story. Aaron Sorkin's sophomore directorial debut effort is so much better than his first movie, Molly's Game, and you feel like he's completely in his element in this movie. With the long dialogues and the complex characters that talk over each other, the movie is crammed with unreal performances, memorable scenes, and unforgettable characters. The director manages to put each character under the spotlight without making any character take the spot of another character. All of them are flushed out the same way, which is impossible given how many characters are in this movie. The movie alternates between the current trial and the flashback in which we see what actually happened in the protest. The director, though, leaves you to make your own decision. He's very objective and he's very unbiased. He presents you the story and he leaves you to think whatever you want to think. One of the most well-paced movies I've seen. Next off, I'm very excited to talk about The Wolf of Snow Hollow, which is directed and starring Jim Cummings, one of the most promising creators of this decade, and I follow his works passionately. Wolf of Snow Hollow is the second directorial effort by Cummings, which has such a leap in the production after his first movie, Thunder Road. The movie follows a series of mysterious killings in a small town called Snow Hollow, and our character, a police officer, is investigating these crimes while dealing with his recent divorce and his ill father, who's also getting retired. Cummings is in the forefront of this movie, just like he was in Thunder Road, and he's easily the best part in both movies. If you've never seen Jim Cummings acting before, he has a very unique and weird way of acting. He walks a very thin line between overacting and not overacting, and he's very passionate and he's very loud and very energetic throughout the movie. The movie takes a bit of inspiration from other crime movies such as Fargo and Zodiac, so if you enjoyed either of these, you're definitely gonna enjoy The Wolf of Snow Hollow. Next up, we have Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which is directed by George C. Wolfe, and it stars Chadwick Boseman and Viola Davis. It's the second movie in a series of adaptations of August Wilson's plays that are produced by Denzel Washington, who already starred in the first installment, Fences. He's starring, directing, and producing it, but this movie he comes as a producer in it. The movie takes place mostly in a recording studio in the 40s, where the legend of blues Ma Rainey is there recording in an atmosphere of racism and discrimination, while Ma Rainey is not giving up any of her rights and she's here to take them all. Meanwhile, downstairs in the basement, her band is rehearsing and they're having a quarrel between the ambitious saxophone player who got promised by the studio manager that he's gonna be producing some of his own singles, and the elder members of the band. If you saw Fences, you'll know that this movie and this way of directing is very theatrical, heavy on dialogue and filled with complex characters, and takes place in one location. Chadwick Boseman, may he rest in peace, has a great mesmerizing performance, and if he won Best Actor, he totally deserves it. And Viola Davis is so into the character, you can no longer see Viola Davis, and this is a very hard and unique and challenging character to be acted, but she completely owns it. I cannot wait for other adaptations of August Wilson's play. So far they have been 10 out of 10. Finally, we have made it to number 10, Memory House, which is another movie I've talked about in my YouTube channel. I'm gonna be linking the video down below, and it follows an old black man who is very disconnected and isolated from his roots and his background, but these roots and these backgrounds are going to hunt him and chase him down. This is a very political movie discussing the civil clash between old Brazilian citizens and the new generation of white Brazilians. I've also mentioned that this movie is very similar to another movie called Bacurau, that both of them are starting some sort of a new wave. The sound design in this movie and the usage of metaphors and how the director used the locations that he has are all things that made this movie stand out, and the symbols in this movie are very unique and very vivid. It's a very slow burn, and it takes a lot of time to unpack its ideas, and it's very challenging for some other viewers because it takes a lot of ambiguity to prove its point. It relies heavily on the aspect of visual imagery because there is little to no dialogue in this movie. Thank you so much for making it this far. This has been my longest video yet, and I'm so happy that we're done with 2020. Although 2020 was very challenging, it had a lot of excellent 10 out of 10 movies, and I think 2021 we have settled in. We are capable to cope with the current situations, and this is what makes me happy and makes me very excited for the new releases this year. What has been your favorite movie this year? Please leave your opinion down below, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!